Five keys to victory. Welcome to Talking Giants. My name is Justin Penik, and our New York Football Giants are headed to Kansas City, Missouri to take on the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium on national television. And speaking of national television, Monday Night Football, which telecast are you going to be watching tonight? Are you going to be watching the main one so you can kind of stay focused on the game? Or are you going to be tuning in to Peyton Manning and Eli Manning so you can hear Eli's perspective on how the Giants look, and especially if Daniel Jones has a pretty good night, which, going to be honest, I am expecting it. I am kind of rooting for it. I want to hear what he has to say about Daniel Jones, the guy that he kind of mentored during Daniel Jones' first year, Eli's last year. So, key to victory number one. Speaking of Daniel Jones possibly having a good night, the way that he can do that is by producing explosive plays, and not just, the typical point that I always have about the importance of explosive plays, but producing these explosive plays are going to help your red zone efficiency. Where number one, if you score on an explosive play, you can avoid the red zone altogether, right? If you score a 25, 40-yard touchdown, Darius Slayton post route, you can avoid the red zone altogether. And then screw red zone efficiency. We just scored 7 points by producing the explosive play. But most of the time, that's not going to happen, right? But you can produce a 30, 20-yard play to get you into the red zone, to cross midfield, so there isn't so many plays on a game script in a given drive, where eventually drives are just going to stall out. If you run 10-plus play drives constantly, they're just going to stall out. Somebody's going to hold, false start, somebody's going to miss a block, somebody's going to drop a pass. That stuff like that is eventually going to happen. It always seems to happen. It always seems to stall out in the red zone, where I do feel that if you produce an explosive play that kind of gets you into that red zone, you can get a defense off guard and you have them on their heels versus methodically kind of just slowly marching down the field, and then the defense can kind of clamp down given a certain field zone if they can put together just a couple good plays. So explosive plays are going to help your red zone efficiency. And it's something that I've been saying for quite a while, but it's expected against this Kansas City defense. It really is expected. Against Carolina, I don't mind not producing a lot of explosive plays. They have a solid defense. Against some of these defenses that we've played in the past, especially without Barkley, without Galladay, without Tony, and without Andrew Thomas, I don't expect the explosive play. This week, against such a bad defense, I expect it. And a guy like Kadarius Toney will be very helpful having back, and he's key to victory number two. Kadarius Toney and his impact, yards after the catch. How are they going to balance him and Sterling Shepard? That was a question that I had during the last game where Sterling Shepard and Kadarius Toney were healthy together. I honestly can't even remember what game that was, but Kadarius Toney didn't even matter because he went out in the first quarter. He went out in the first quarter of, I believe it was the Rams game. So the Rams game was the last time that those two guys were healthy at the same time. Kadarius Toney goes out in the first quarter, so then we don't even have to worry about the dynamic between who lines up outside, who lines up in the slot. But that's something that is we're gonna keep an eye out for in this game, because they're both targeted, Shepard and Toney. They're both targeted in that intermediate part of the field. But Kadarius Toney obviously can get the yards after the catch, and he can turn those intermediate targets into explosive plays. So the impact of Toney, I expect Toney to have a really, really good day today. He should. There's no excuse. If he's out there, and I hope he's 100%, and I hope they roll him out there. I hope the Giants don't play him just to keep him limited. If you're going to play him, let him rock and roll. Key to victory number three is when turnovers are in your hands, or if they're in your grasp, you gotta come down with them. The Kansas City Chiefs are number one. They're first in the National Football League with the highest turnover per drive rate. Where this year, we're almost halfway through the season, right? So this is a large enough sample size. The Chiefs are turning over the ball on average 1 out of every 4 offensive drives. 25% of the time. 1 out of every 4. That is crazy, and a lot of it hasn't just been on Patrick Mahomes. A lot of it has been off the hands of a lot of targets, Tyreek Hill, and balls that are going off the hands of these wide receivers. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's not playing tonight, he's had a little bit of a fumble problem. You remember back to that Sunday Night Football game against the Baltimore Ravens where he had a couple fumbles there. So Kansas City Chiefs, they have been turning over the ball all year, but they're still producing yards at an elite rate. They're still putting points up at a really, really high rate, at a top 5 rate. So this Kansas City Chiefs offense and this Kansas City Chiefs team, the defense is bad. They're turning over the ball on the offense side of the ball, but I wouldn't say the sky is on fire for them. They're still a very, very dangerous football team. But if turnovers are in your hands for the Giants, you have to come down with them. You have to change the momentum of the game if it is in your grasp. because there have been times this year where the Giants have dropped those interceptions. They haven't been able to come down with those catches. So you have to this game. Key to victory number 4 is Travis Kelce. And I don't even have a really good idea or a really good theory as to how to stop him, but this is where the loss of Jabril Peppers is going to be felt. Jabril Peppers is obviously out for the season, and he would be the guy that would cover those bigger physical tight ends. You saw it this year against Kyle Pitts, where Kyle Pitts only made one important play towards the latter part of the game, but a lot of people blame Jabril Peppers for that. These bigger physical tight ends are very, very tough to cover, and they are mismatch nightmares. And Peppers over the years, Logan Thomas last year was a guy that 2 times a year Jabril Peppers would be covering. So, this is where the loss of Jabril Peppers is going to be felt. Is Tay Crowder going to be the guy that's going to go sideline to sideline on crossing routes for Travis Kelce? Is it going to be Logan Ryan? And then what you're expecting Logan Ryan to do is, he's not maybe going to force incompletions if you're asking him to pinpoint a ball high in the air. But can you just hold on to Travis Kelce after he catches a ball long enough so the gang tackle can come and bring Travis Kelce down? I don't know, but Travis Kelce is the biggest X factor in this game, because I do think there are going to be times where Tyreek Hill is going to beat you. I hope Adoree Jackson is on Tyreek Hill more or less, right? But Travis Kelce is the biggest X factor because you have the corners that can somewhat cover Tyreek Hill, but it's what are you going to do against Travis Kelce, especially without Jabril Peppers. Key to victory number 5, keeping good gap integrity. Keeping good gap integrity. What I mean is the edge rushers, you don't want them getting too far up the field when Patrick Mahomes drops back. Because if they get too far up the field, then you can have Patrick Mahomes can step up in the pocket and then extend plays to the left, extend plays to the right. And that is where Patrick Mahomes is most dangerous. When those wide receivers and those skill position players can improvise for Patrick Mahomes and go outside of the playbook, go outside of the play, and get open, because the Giants, they could do their job brilliantly on the back end for the first 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds of a play. But it's when Patrick Mahomes starts scrambling to his right, improvising, and then he starts throwing on the run, that is where he is most dangerous, and that is where this offense is most explosive. So I want Mahomes in the pocket. I want my edge rushers to play good gap integrity, not get too far upfield, and these interior defensive linemen, they have to push the pocket, and they have to get home. They have to get home. They are the strength of this defense. They have to continue to show it. Austin Johnson, Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams. Azeez, I don't want you getting too far upfield. Utilize that speed, and if you're going to get to the quarterback, you better get to him. If you're going to rush kind of outside, you better get your hands on him and you better get him down. But do not get too far upfield, because this secondary can do a great job, but sometimes you just can't beat when a quarterback like Mahomes and when you have a connection like with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, when these guys just improvise and then they get open that way. You can't beat it. I don't think there's anything to really scheme up. That's really, really tough to beat. So that's 5 keys to victory. This is an exciting game for the Giants. This is an exciting game. It's a game that they are most likely not going to win, but they have to go into it expecting a shootout. They have to go into it with the expectation that we need to put up 30-plus points this game, and that has been a problem for this Giants mentality, is that they go into a game where that's not their priority. Scoring points doesn't feel like a priority for the Giants, and that's why I think we've seen a lot of losing football the last couple years. All right, 5 keys to victory. We'll be back tomorrow with hopefully a victory podcast against a really, really good team. And if the Giants win, we're sucked right back in. Peace. Go Big Blue. See you tomorrow.